All right, we're St. Pete Design. We're a local web development agency serving the Tampa Bay area since 2012. This, again, Steve Curtis, I'm Joe Lopresti. You know, we're based out of St. Pete, but we serve the whole area, coming out here to try to help build the community. Our motto is everything WordPress. Tonight, we're going to be talking about website security. Is your WordPress website secure? This talk outline, we're going to be scaring you to death with a few scary facts, so I make sure everybody's paying attention. And then we're going to give you a list of some easy and actionable steps that you'll be able to take to make sure your WordPress site is secure. All right, here's our scary facts. 63% of all data breaches are from comprised user credentials. Can anybody tell me what they think that means? Login info, yep, just your login info. Too many times people, you either make some easy passwords or you give it out. 63%, that's a big number. 43% of cyber attacks are aimed at small businesses. That's a pretty big number as well. I'm sure a lot of people here are affiliated with small businesses. They are looking at us.
Is that where the money is though? I thought they were focused on money.
It really depends. I mean, the data is much more valuable if you get data from a business. Everybody's data is valuable, so I got a stat in here I'll show you, but everybody's data is valuable and we are willing to pay for it. But as a business, your data is more valuable because you got a lot of users. It depends on who you are, credit card info, so you're talking big time here. This one here is a personal pet peeve of mine. 78% of people know the risks of clicking unknown links in their emails, and yet they still click them. Don't click them. If you don't open the one that it's Stacy from Honduras and wants to say hello, you know, or whatever it is. Do not open it. Even sometimes just even opening them is all you're going to need to do to get malware. And if anybody here is a developer or you work on sites through your computer, if you get that malware, every site you now work on has that malware. 64% of Americans are willing to pay a ransom to get their data back. Average of $1,077. I've seen anywhere from like 900 to 1,200. That's their average. That's a huge number. So they do follow the money. There's no.
That's why they go after small business too.
Right. And individuals too. You know, like me, for the longest time, I kept my pictures, all the family, and we take all our pictures with our phones now. That's all digital. You know, everything that's important, all the great videos and my kids growing up are on my computer. If that gets locked up, you know, not now, because now I'm smarter than I was before, but you know, I was at risk. I could have lost everything. All right. Only 39% of WordPress websites are running the most current version of software. This is 4.8, but we're up to 4.0 now and near 5.0. That's a big deal. 40% of WordPress websites are running the most current version of PHP. Imagine these two numbers put together. I was looking for a stat to find how many sites did have the most current version of WordPress and the most current version of PHP. I couldn't find a stat, but I bet you it would have probably been in the 20 percentile range. That's amazing. Okay. Question? Yes.
Question. Going back to what you just mentioned, I normally, when I see updates, I normally update them right away. My question to you, should you wait maybe 2 to 10 days before you do it? Just in case there's a glitch with the upware, or just?
I mean, that's the point of having a child theme, so you're able to do stuff like that, or do it off-site, you know, on your local server. And then if everything's working, then you do it to your main one. But yeah, don't just take any update and just automatically do it to your site that's already up and running. Because
for core, I would say you should.
Oh yeah, cool.
Because it happened to me one time where my site just shot, but
Yeah.
I had the backup and did it.
Thank God.
And then I'm like, hey, should I just update as soon as I see it, or should I wait? Make sure the glitch is out.
Right. With the plugins, I mean, I usually wait a little bit, not real long, but
Okay.
If you can look to see like what was updated, you can click through there to see what the updates were, because sometimes it's security patches that you want to update immediately.
Yes.
The other thing you can do, like if I didn't know that an update was coming and it comes out, I'll usually like just kind of Google around, or if it's with a theme, a lot of themes will have Facebook groups around like a certain theme or builders, and so I'll go in and see if anybody's having any issues and what the issues might be.
Into the details.
So I go, depending on what it is, whether it's like a theme or a builder or just a general plugin, kind of depends on how quickly I update it and what type of updates and what type of research I do before.
Standard.
Yeah, yeah, and you start to get to know them a little bit more, and some you start to trust a little bit more than others, and.
Because they will be the first ones to start popping off. You'll get right on social media and start trashing something if they updated and it went awry. Alright, here we go, we got a little stat here. Infected websites. In 2017, 83% was WordPress. Now that, WordPress is like, what, 32% now of the internet, so it's a big chunk anyways.
Right.
But that's huge, 83% was WordPress.
Big part.
Big target. Okay, how they were hacked. And obviously your main one here is through a plugin, an updated plugin, or some sort of security issue, or through brute force. It has to do with like your login page, your login info, they just keep trying and trying. So this is what we want to kind of center our actionable steps based on these two things. I mean, plugin and brute force. If you can address just these two things, I mean, everything else you can see might add up to 15%, 20% tops. So, in my opinion, as far as beginner level is concerned, focus on these two things.
I would use the focus on.
Make sure yours is updated.
Yes. Well, I broke it down here. The two things: plugin management, protect your login page and info. That's the two main points. You understand these two simple points, this lets you block 75% of attacks, just right off the get-go. All right, plugin management. Update your plugins. Step number one, as simple as that. We were just talking about that. You do want to make sure, when you do update stuff, that your site's still running. Don't just click update and keep rolling. Double check your stuff and take the steps like we were talking about, but keep your plugins updated. Like she had mentioned, sometimes they're just basic README files, but sometimes there's security issues and patches. And when they find out about security issues, most of them are pretty good about getting them updated. So keep your plugins updated. I can't stress that enough. 83% of hacked WordPress blogs are not upgraded. That's crazy.
Why isn't it done automatically? You have a site.
Well, you
put
can
a
have the
plugin,
core
and
do
they
an
do it.
auto update.
Pardon me?
You can have the core WordPress, you can have that setting to auto update.
Auto
but
update.
I don't know about plugins, I've never, I don't think so.
Can they
Yeah.
detect, the author detect the plugins, hey, they're using a million sites, I'll update everybody.
Not as of right now, they definitely know how many people actively using their plugin. They can say, I got 1 million people using my plugin, but they can't just send out an update.
If
If
you
there's
have
a big
authorization.
security breach, if there's a huge security breach in a plugin, the plugin author has the ability to go through with WordPress as an agreement to push an update to a hacked plugin automatically to any site that has that.
But that's not just for
But
your
that's not-
everyday update, that's for major
That's
security
the
breach,
security.
major, will affect everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another one. This is just good general practice. Delete all unused plugins. Now I know if you're like me, have a bad habit, use this plugin, great, let's get a new plugin, great. Okay, how about this plugin, great. Okay, next thing I know, I got a ton of plugins on my site. So it's good practice to go through and delete all your unused plugins. I try not to have over 20 plugins. I mean, that's a lot, but each one of those plugins is basically increasing your odds of getting attacked, because that's just one more door a hacker can get in. Update your plugins, delete all your used plugins, all your unused plugins. Only download recently updated plugins. Now, this is just a personal preference of mine. When I'm looking at plugins, I don't really like downloading anything that hasn't been updated in the last 6 months. Now, there are some good plugins that I have that were updated like 10, 11 months ago, but there's far and few in between. I typically stay away from a plugin unless they've been updated recently, just for security issues, because new security issues are popping up constantly, and if they haven't updated their plugin in 8, 10 months, there's a good chance that there's even a small little security hole in there. And you know, we believe that's how we were hacked initially, was through a plugin that we had. So we are super weary about that. That's pretty much about it for plugins. You can do those 3 things, you're way ahead of the game as far as, and a lot of those are just good practice, good standard operating procedures anyways.
So, yes.
Yes.
When you download a fresh version of WordPress, you know, you got, I think, the Kismet is, or?
Yeah, they could
It's
use
like Jet something, is that a way to try and hook you into the WordPress.com?
What do you mean?
There was that one with word jet in it, Jet something?
Jetpack?
Right. Is that a way
By
to,
automatic.
it's like, should you get rid of those, or just, you know, all this
I
stuff?
mean, it's pretty useful, depends on what you're doing. Jetpack can be useful. I mean, you know, most people, I've never talked to anybody that uses all of Jetpack, but I've talked to a lot of people that there's 1 or 2 things in Jetpack that they really like. I mean, if that's what you're
I
talking
don't know if
about.
it was like some way for the hackers to get in for stuff you really don't use, but they install automatically when you're loading
Well,
web.
those ones don't install automatically, like those are from reputable companies, and they tend to keep their stuff updated. It's the little side plugins that aren't regularly updated, you know, aren't as well maintained or built as these big companies build plugins.
Yeah, Jetpack's made by automatic, who basically run
Is-
WordPress.
So you're pretty solid with them, I mean, you're not too much you have to worry about.
Right, thanks.
Alright, so I'm gonna go through a list of security plugins. We're gonna start with two-factor authentication.
It has to do with your login, protecting your login info and URL.
Okay, this plugin is two-factor authentication. So what it does is just adds an extra layer of security, so that when you log in, it'll send you a code to your phone by SMS. I think you can set it up in different ways too. So it just makes it a little harder for somebody to get your login info, okay? These slides will all be available. I'm gonna go a little fast and go through each plugin, but they'll all be up online so you guys can reference later, okay?
No, not Linda, we'll put it on YouTube and wherever else.
Meetup.
Meetup.
And
The
the
WordPress
WordPress.org,
network.
yeah. Okay.
Okay, so WPS hide login. This is what it looks like on the WordPress repo. So you can hide your login info. You can put it in different. You can put it in a different page instead of being on WP-admin. You can actually change that page, which makes it more difficult for people to hack into your website, obviously.
Because hackers, they know, as developers, everything has a /WP admin, and that's your login. So just doing that simple step, man, is gonna be a big deal.
We do it on all of our sites now.
Yes, every single site we have, none of them say WordPress admin.
These are some more comprehensive security plugins. I'll start with Bulletproof Security. I got a list of basically of popular updated security plugins, okay? So you can't go wrong with most of these. They all do different things. You're gonna wanna go on the repo, take a look at each one. We're not gonna go through every single point because they all offer different things, okay? Bulletproof Security Pro is an upgrade to this plugin. Next one is WordFence. This is one of the most popular security plugins. This is what we actually use on every one of our websites. This is what it looks like on the repo. Offers firewall, malware, backups. It's got a lot of other things that can, I believe you might even be able to change your login page just through this without even using the WPS hide login.
All this is under WordPress.org?
This is all on the plugin repo, yes. It's all free. Yeah, you can, some of them have upgrades, but these are all free plugins, at least you can get a free version.
There's only one, not all of them.
Correct, you're gonna wanna choose one, yeah, okay? Especially between bulletproof security, these three here, these are all comprehensive plugins. I don't want to say use this one because you might have different needs. Everybody's got different needs, okay? All in one WP security and firewall. Again, they offer a firewall protection, lots of other things. I believe they have over 1 million downloads. Okay, this is a really good plugin to use. And in fact, we've tried it. Defender Security. I really like their logo.
Nacho Libre.
But again, go through each one, go through each, take a look, go through each one, think about your needs on your website and how it matches up to these plugins, okay? iTheme Security, I actually sat in on a talk by the guy who originally wrote this in Orlando. iTheme's bought him out. Another great plugin to use. So there you go, security. This is another very popular one. This is when your website gets hacked, these guys actually offer protection. So if for the premium version, this is not for the free version. You get the premium version of security and you get hacked, they'll fix your website for free. So that's definitely something that you might want to look into. I believe it's $199, but it's possible to, I think it's $199 though. Pretty sure to get the guarantee.
That's a one-time fee?
Yeah.
For one site.
Yeah, and believe me, if your website gets hacked,
Worth
well worth it, well worth it.
Just like insurance.
Joe and I, when our websites were hacked, how many did we have? 12, 13 that were hacked?
Over a dozen, yeah.
Yeah, all at once. We didn't know about any of this. We were just kind of sailing in the wind and.
We darn near put 100 hours each into it,
Easy.
plus I had to pay a developer.
I was working the day shift, he was working the night shift, and had another developer hit. It was terrible. And we didn't even know that we were hacked until we went to one of our websites, and I don't even want to say what was on the website, it was so bad. But once we saw that, we knew we were in big
Well,
trouble.
just for curiosity, did you get hacked through a plugin?
Yes.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, it was an outdated version of the, gosh, I should know the name
Not
of this
Visual
plugin.
Composer,
No,
but,
but we had it.
They agree.
No, it was
It was
for
for
our
the header, it
sliders,
was just
yeah,
for the header.
The sliders.
Slider Revolution.
Slider Revolution.
Slider Revolution.
Yeah.
Slider Revolution, yeah.
It was an outdated version of Slider Revolution. That's what we.
And they went through one site, got into our host, and were able to get in all the other sites, so,
Yeah.
you know, that's.
Which is
What, they
another
want
thing.
ransom from you and say?
No,
No, they just, it was
Just
just for fun, yeah, because of the sites it went to.
To get our traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so make sure that you get one of these plugins for certain. All right, so some security tips. Auto log out idle users of your site. So if your website is just sitting there, somebody's logged in, somebody might, especially if you have multiple people that work on your website, someone may log in, they're working on your website, it's lunchtime, they take off, and somebody at another desk can simply go right now, they're on your website, they've got access to your website. If you auto log out users, they're not gonna be able to do that, okay? Prevents that issue.
You can do that with some of these plugins that we've mentioned. They have options to go in there and just, as a function, click that, and that plugin will auto log out users.
Pretty sure all-in-one security does that. You can log out. WordPress, I'm not sure about. Very possibly they do, but just again, go through. There's so many different things that these plugins do that there's no way we could go through them all. I was reading over them the last several days, just trying to think of it, trying to figure out what each one of these major security plugins offers, and it's just so much. So you're gonna have to make that decision for yourselves, okay? Back up your database on a regular basis.
Letters.
Yeah, that should have been the first thing we opened with. Backup. A backup is gonna save everything. Obviously, that's what backup does. But if you don't have one, well, you are in trouble. It's gonna cost you a lot of money to get your site back up and running. So make sure you back up your database. There's all kinds of ways to do it. You can do it with some of these security plugins offer it. There's also, I think we talked about Updraft earlier. You can also, if you're a little more tech savvy, you can go into PHPAMyAdmin and you can just download a SQL file to back up your database. So there's multiple ways to do it. You can have your host do it, depending on who your host is. SiteGround, we use them now. instead of HostGator, they offer daily backups. So either get it through your host or definitely have a plugin option that's gonna give you backups.
And if there's, in my opinion, anything you take away from today, it's to get backups. Backup. If we would've backed our stuff up, we would've saved ourselves so much money and so much time. It would've just took us a couple of hours to just bring everything back 30 days. It's just so valuable.
You
I
didn't
can't
back
stress that
up.
enough.
How do you go about?
You didn't have any backups.
Those features.
It's right at the beginning.
It's
It's early on.
You're like,
Look, it was
never mind.
tuition. That's how I look at it. It was tuition.
Draft's a free plugin, yeah. I believe, again, I don't know exactly which one of these plugins offers it, but.
It was
if you
mostly
look
affiliate
on
sites
the-
though.
On the
That's when we
items
had
that they offer. on
just a
the
ton of
plugin,
affiliate
you'll
sites.
see the ones that
That's
do offer
really
free
why it hurt us real bad.
Okay.
You learned your lesson.
Yes.
Remind me of, a doctor when he runs a school, he's a technology person there. And he has a big sign, he walks in his office and say, if you don't back up, you don't really know. It's simple.
That's a
You
fact,
don't-
man.
You don't make two copies. you
That's
don't-
right, that's right. And that's what I live by now. Everything I do, everything's backed up on Google Drive. I got stuff backed up on portable hard drives. I got stuff scattered. I'm like a squirrel just hiding nuts everywhere.
I back up everywhere.
It's actually a good lesson because it doesn't apply to just WordPress. You should back up all of your
Yes.
data, all of your pictures, anything that's important to you. Nowadays, you need to back it up. Security tip number 3, check your site regularly. Just go take a look at it, because you can tell right away if it's hacked, usually, on the front end. You'll get, we didn't notice, we think, for probably a week or two when our sites got hacked. Just because we didn't check them, we weren't in the habit of checking them regularly at the time. And it really hurt us. We were doxxed by Google by the time we got it all fixed. We lost all of our rankings for several of our websites. And we're still regaining some of the rankings from our main website, actually. And this happened 6 months ago, maybe more, well, okay, so it's been a while, but yeah, we lost, you lose more than just your data. You lose your rankings, everything you've worked hard for, you're gonna lose if you don't check your site regularly and if you don't have things backed up, okay? Use the email login option provided by WordPress. It's just in the WP admin area. Something simple you can do is log in with your email. It's easier than, don't ever use admin as your username, okay? Or your name as your username, or something simple. You can use your full email login.
That's a big deal because your emails are much more unique than your login username would be.
Something we've already talked about is to rename your login URL from your website.com/WP login, used to be WP admin, still is on some sites. You want to change that URL because every hacker that's the first place they go when they're trying to get into your website. They go right to that. So there are options in several of these plugins to rename that login. Make sure that you do, okay? Very important. All right, so do we have any general security questions at this point? Elaine?
So for this membership site where there are many members logging in, they're at a lower level, they're subscribers, can't ask them for do double authentication. And that, they can barely log in as it is.
Agreed.
So,
Yeah.
any advice, just,
I mean, double authentication is a little bit more difficult. You know, there's
they're never gonna go.
a lot more other things you can do to
And also
do
the
that.
limit login attempts, I
Mhm.
have had that,
Yes.
that didn't work, I can't log in. And it would give you like eight,
Most
8 attempts, but,
Right.
banks and financial institutions force you to do the double authentication.
well, this is just,
Just limit what they're able to access them. That's the biggest thing, is just make sure that the only thing they have access to is their
low
post.
level stuff, yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
it.
don't let them have admin access, or change the login page. I don't know if you tried that, but that's one thing that's not nearly as hard, or on them, you know, so, but you're right, not everybody's gonna wanna do, the more difficult you make it to get into your website, the more, upset some of your clients are gonna be about it. They don't wanna hear about it. But I'll bet you once that site gets hacked, or if it does get hacked, it's all your fault, right? So we have to kind of walk that line.
Well, honestly, the nature of two-factor authentication is fine. I've got several of them that I do that just basically text me them. You know, there's that kind of an authentication, that's fine. For most people that have like iPhones, I mean, that's pretty much the standard.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No.
You know, if you do the other steps, something like that, two-factor authentication, you could push down. That doesn't have to be your first level of what you do, you know, push that down a little bit. See if you can feel comfortable and get much more secure with doing the other steps. And then you'll be able to weigh that. If you still feel like that's necessary, kick it into gear, but if you feel pretty comfortable otherwise, your backups and all the other stuff.
When you do the two-factor, is it a one-time deal? Hey, I recognize your computer, now you're all set. I recognize your phone, now you're in. You have
Usually
to
it's
do
every
it
time you
every
log
time.
in, you wanna do a two-factor authentication.
Yeah, I was
Or is it
thinking
30 days?
sometimes
Okay, for a
it's
time
like-
limit?
Oh, okay.
Your computer for 30
You
days.
set that up?
Oh, that is a pain. Because there are some sites where you go in, they say, hey, we don't know you, make sure it's you, and then.
Right.
Once you.
Oh, yeah.
They know your ID, then you're okay. Is this a public computer, is it someone, is it your own, then we now know who you are.
Right. Is there any other questions? I think.
Well, I was asking you to go back one screen, because I was writing down the login thing on, okay, my website. That's not literal, is it?
No, that's just your website or any website.
Okay. WP-login.
How do you recommend that name there? Why do you say, do it that way?
To change that?
Okay, thank you.
Because that's where everybody logs into their WordPress website at. So
Right.
it's the same, if your, whatever your website, mywebsite.com, you know, if /WP-login, that's where you go to literally log in. And every hacker knows that. On every WordPress website, they put the name of the website and yourwebsite.com /WP-login, and now they've got your login, they can start trying to
Just
hack
matter of
into it at
attempts
that
at
point.
this point.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got it. So just rename it something.
Rename it.
Yeah, like I have a restaurant and it's whatever the restaurant name is and it's I think it's pizza, /pizza. You know, that's the login page as opposed to the WP login, WP admin. And a hacker, he's never gonna get to that page.
I got it.
I hear what you're saying, I'm drawing a blank.
I get it.
Alright, so I go to my website, right, my business address, mybusiness.com / and what do I change, how do I change that? As opposed to directly to the standard one.
Right.
How do I redirect it to that other?
You can through a plugin, so one of the plugins, a few of the plugins that we had mentioned,
Okay,
you can do it through there. Specifically, it'll be rename your login URL.
Okay.
And then, depends on which ones, you know, they'll let you choose
Right.
what you want it to be, so you can make it say whatever you want.
Okay.
And that all by itself is gonna be a tremendous step forward in securing your site.
So the security plugin, ones you suggest they should, or any of them should have that feature that will actually allow me to redirect it from my website.
I know a few of them do, I don't know about any of them.
I wouldn't say all of them do, so make sure you check, but
Okay.
definitely some of them do.
Alright, gotcha.
So
Some
that
of
works.
them.
And this is probably the easiest one to do, and it's also what nobody does. I mean, every client that's ever called me, like, what's the login to your admin area? And I know right away, just go to their admin area, I mean, it's just that simple. So anybody's trying to hack into a WordPress website knows.
So you say there's a plugin or the theme will allow you to change that login URL? There's all mine are, you know, the domain with WP-admin.
Yeah.
So it's,
But yes, you can change that with some of these plugins, absolutely.
which plugins would you suggest
I
for
believe-
that specific feature?
I believe WordFence, you can do that, if I'm not mistaken. Joe, do we do that through WordFence, or do we use a?
I'm not sure we were looking, I think it was the
We've done
all-in-one
this to
or
all
the
those sites.
iTeams. It was either all-in-one or iTeams that absolutely
Oh, yeah, okay.
definitely does that. We
Okay.
looked specifically for that.
Yeah.
All in one, what was the last one?
iTeam.
iThemes security.
iTeam security.
iThemes security.
Oh, iTunes.
Yeah. Look into those specifically.
And then you can look in the description of those in the repository and it'll tell you, scroll down, it'll tell you what it does.
Gotcha.
And that's free, you know, you won't have to pay for something like that.
Yeah,
And that-
that's the best thing, right?
major. Yes, always free is for me.
Can't be free.
And, you know, I just wanna say too, I put it in the talk, but, and we don't have a lot of developers, but the big thing with developers is, and everybody's done it, like he had mentioned earlier, use admin as the login, username admin, or admin123, and password as the password. You know, and it seems, it's silly, you know, but, you know, it's still done these days, especially when when the site's in development, and the developer wants the client to log in, or, you know, he'll just make a basic login info. So just as good practice, don't do that.
And when you, a lot of these one-click installs, on like GoDaddy, HostGator, they're gonna automatically just fill in admin as your username, so make sure that you change that right away from the get-go.
Have you guys ever heard of a company called LastPass.com?
I'm not.
It's a password security, or password, management website. Yeah, I use it.
Do you?
So is that the same thing as using some of these?
No. No, it's completely different.
It's different.
LastPass is basically password management on the cloud, so that you can use it for like.
Because I use that to log in all my websites.
Yeah, and it's fine, because basically every single password in there is gonna be completely randomized and unique. Where
Right.
you've got like a master password,
It's like-
that should be very complicated to get.
I'll never remember.
Well, I mean, yeah, because that's the whole
Unless
idea.
you go
is that-
through the panel, right?
If you're gonna be talking about password stuff, I mean, basically, if you want to come up with a password that is unique to yourself, and that most people would never be able to guess, use a phrase. Always use a phrase. And phrases are very hard for people to remember, they can't guess them because it's something unique to yourself. Make that be your master password, and then use a tool like LastPass to manage it all. I used to use 1Password and I didn't like it, it was too expensive, but LastPass, I've been using it for a while. I like it.
What do you think about the browser, that they just offer that in Chrome, basically, password,
Oh, God,
no.
God, no. It's too easy to get access to that, I mean.
Right.
Yeah. All it really takes is getting into your Google account.
And they got everything.
Yeah, too many accounts, yeah. Yeah, once you get into the Google account, you have absolutely everything about you.
Right.
So you have to protect that first.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I look at it, is like, I have 6 Google accounts, I think, and every one of them has a completely different password, every single one of them has a completely different set of stuff that's secure within. LastPass protects all of those, and then I've still got a level above that, so.
About like banking information, like I
All
never
of that
put
is
that in
two-factor,
anything.
every single thing, every bank is two-factor.
Right.
All my Googles are two-factor, all of my, anything that really matters is two-factor.
Any more questions?
I have a question regarding the, so if you use a simple template like I showed you earlier, do these plugins, are these plugins relevant as well?
Yes,
Or not?
oh yeah, absolutely.
They are.
Well, not for you, because you're on WordPress.com.
Yes.
Okay, sure, but if you have a standalone WordPress installation, yes.
No matter the size of your site at
WordPress.com
all.
supports
Okay.
two-factor authentication too.
Does it?
Yeah, WordPress.com, you can support two-factor authentication.
But you can't put WordFence on a WordPress.com site or security or.
They are opening up certain plugins for WordPress.com, I just don't know which ones they are. And I've had people come to us about some of our plugins that we support, and it's like, I have no idea about that, so you can try it. Whatever.
Alright.
But yeah.
Yes.
You got your own domain, whatever, GoDaddy, host, whatever. You got your own domain, WordPress installed on it. Then these plugins that you just mentioned, one of these security plugins, whichever one they are, especially the ones that allow you to change, redirect the login.
Mhm.
Okay. That's what you definitely want to use.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
No doubt about it.
Any website, do you have just one site, one WordPress site?
Yeah, I figure out how to manipulate that, I'll expand, but for now, yeah, only got, well, I almost got one.
Get in there.
I got the host, I got the
Put,
domain.
put one of these security plugins on it and start to see what you can do with it.
It's real easy.
You'll learn it. It's very intuitive. Some of them are harder than others, you know, but just find one, get in there, start to.
That's the reason my main work is actually developing the actual website itself.
Sure. They have something worth getting hacked.
Yeah, I want to try, I want to try. I Don't hack me down.
What a bug.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, please, somebody hack me.
I had a plug-in for GoFundMe, so it takes care of some of the tuition.
Go fuck them.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about the two-page builders, Elementor and Beaver Builder. What's the difference between both of them, and, do you prefer one over the other and
They
why?
honestly do almost the exact same thing.
Are they?
They are.
I don't know if
they're
one
that
has different
close to being-
features or different look when you.
Most of they have like a couple of companies that have done like add-ons for them that are more modules like pricing tables and, accordion this and accordion,
Right.
and all these pretty bells and whistle things. All of the companies that do ultimate add-ons for Beaver Builder do ultimate add-ons for Elementor, so it doesn't really matter. Those two are the biggest ones. Visual Composer's another one. I can say absolutely not in that direction. Sorry.
No, I would use the simpler ones as well, so yeah, Visual Composer, so heavy,
Mainly because
and you gotta pay.
three is just, no.
Right.
Yeah, don't go there, don't use, there's a thing called X or Astra, and it has one built in called Power Builder, don't go that direction. Anything that's like short code heavy, don't go that direction. You wanna go something that is actually on the WordPress.org repo, has a free version that you can test, and before you ever even think about going professional, to the pro versions. So Beaver Builder or Elementor, they both are quite good, they're both updated pretty regularly. The support for Beaver Builder is a lot better, I think, because, they have like a Facebook group with like a huge following that you can join. And they have a ticket-based support system. Elementor has a ticket-based support system. They've got a pretty large staff, I don't know how they're, I can't say anything because I can't. We have a plugin that works with both of them, and one didn't contact us and wrote an interface with our plugin, and now their stuff isn't working, and it's like, guys, if you had contacted us. I don't know, just kind of bizarre. So kind of a wrong way of like doing something, let's put it that way. But they're both in competition, and, right now Beaver Builder has Gutenberg support, Elementor is working on Gutenberg support. Everyone's thinking Gutenberg is gonna replace these two, but it's not gonna be the case because Gutenberg isn't anywhere near ready for that, so.
Basically, you go for either one. So,
Yeah.
either one and play with, yeah. Any other questions? No, that's it. All right, well, we appreciate you guys coming out.
Don't forget to know about our website address.
TampaBayWP.org. You'll find the slides up there in our YouTube page. Again, we meet here the first Thursday of every month, Charles Spending Library in Tampa.
And we've got other WordPress meetups in St. Pete on the first and third Tuesday of every month. So if you guys are, need your fix in between our once a month here, you can always go over there. It's a great
Yeah,
meetup.
our next one is on we're not doing one on November 6th because that's voting day. So our next one is November 20th, and it's gonna be the whole meetup is Ask Us Anything. So it'll be like, come in and just ask questions.
If you got any problems, you bring your problems in, and it's a great resource for you. All right, with that, we appreciate you guys. Joe and Steve, for being on. Yeah, appreciate you guys coming up. Okay.
You Steve your brother?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You can tell, right?
Thumb drive? I got a thumb drive back, so you do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you saying? I didn't quite.
Yeah, that's like a dream to me. They got But I can't even do anything. Long way down to the Right, well, I haven't visited it.
Am I reading?
But yeah,
My brother's interview skills and all that.
I appreciate you coming out.
Because I've never done this, like,
No,
get in there.
Okay.
These are all guys.